What is up, everybody? I'm George Mossey. This is the David and Annie After the 90 Days Recap Podcast. This is season 1, episode 5. So after being on lockdown for a week, some of the COVID restrictions have been lifted, and David and Annie and Amber and Jordan finally are allowed to leave the house. Well, they were allowed to leave the house only to buy food. Now they're allowed to leave the house to do things like fishing trips. So they go on a family fishing trip, which is a good family bonding experience. And actually, anyone coming from the village where Annie is from, fishing is a normal part of life because they still hunt their own food. A lot of people, think, oh, they go to the grocery store and buy their food. Not in the village. This is only in Bangkok where they go and buy the food at the store. So this is actually a normal thing. So even though they didn't catch anything, it was a good experience to get out of the house because we found out that David not only talks all day, he also talks in his sleep. And Annie kind of finds that annoying. So talking in your sleep is crazy. I don't know how I will be able to handle that. So even more good news follows because Amber and Jordan find out that they have their student visa interviews at the embassy, which has reopened after the COVID restrictions were lifted. Well, not all of them are lifted, but some were lifted and the numbers went down. So what the interviewer is going to look for is they need to speak basic English and they need to be able to answer questions in English as well as understand it. So they have been working on their English, and that shouldn't be an issue. Jordan has been working on it, and so is Amber. So we're hoping that everything goes well with that. So they also decide, Jessica, the immigration lawyer, decides that it's best for you to wear blue. Blue is a calming color, a relaxing color, and it kind of gives the interviewer a more calm, relaxed feeling when they're interviewing you. They actually had the clothing made because due to the lockdown, you couldn't just go and buy clothes. Everything wasn't open. So they went to the tailor and had their outfits custom made, which is really nice. They look like little lawyers and everyone's pretty impressed with how they looked, and everyone felt like they were running a business. And, confidence comes from so many different places, and a nice suit and a nice outfit can do that for you. So they went into the interview pretty confident. So they go into the interview, an hour later they come out and everyone is excited to hear the outcome, but the outcome isn't good. We find out that they were denied for their student visas, and not only were they denied, but they even asked Jordan if he was an orphan and asked him where his parents were. And if you guys don't know, in Thai culture, an orphan is someone who is looked down on, or it's kind of like you're not loved. So they're kind of saying that, oh, why doesn't anyone want to take you or take care of you? You're not loved. So it's an insult to call someone that, especially if they're not an orphan. So they felt like they were really treated unfairly, especially because they come from a village and the interview was in Bangkok, and people who live in a village, they have a mindset of thinking that people who live in villages are poor or uneducated or things like that. And we're feeling as though the interview process didn't go well based on predetermined factors, where they came from, where they lived, and not what they were trying to do and accomplish, because obviously education was part of the goal of this situation. Okay, so we talked to Jessica. Jessica is David and Annie's immigration lawyer, and she is the one who actually helped Jordan and Amber prepare for the interview. So she thinks that the best way to get through this obstacle is to apply for the student visa in Chiang Mai, which is on another part of the country, but it's actually far enough away from Bangkok where she thinks that there may be less discrimination and less irrelevant factors used to make that decision based on them coming to America for a student visa. So she did some digging and she actually lands an appointment for them to be able to go to the interview with a new interviewer, fresh start, and they're going to be able to try again. So we don't know what the outcome is going to be. And the issue was with the first interview, they never gave them a reason why they were denied. They just denied them, didn't give them any reason or anything to work on, no notes, no criticisms. They just said, oh, by the way, you're not going to be able to go to America. And that's very difficult because you don't really know what to correct. You don't know where you went wrong, and you don't know where to go about fixing the problem when you don't know that there's a problem at all. So we are going to keep our fingers crossed and really, really hope that Jordan and Amber are able to get to this interview and nail it and make sure that they're able to extend their education to the United States and learn English and bring back those skills to their village and to their country and be able to live the productive, successful lives that Annie and they all want them to have. So next week, we're going to watch David and Annie stopping off at the village on their way to Shangmi to inform the family of what happened. And, you know, they did a lot of traditions and things that they do in Annie's culture to give good karma, good vibes. And they did the dance, which was a traditional dance outside the temple. And they did the prayers and they did all of the things that they thought would give them a blessing for this to go well. And unfortunately, it didn't. And we're learning that Aunt Lome feels that David has a bad ghost or omen or something negative, an aura following him around. So we're going to watch next week and get to the bottom of that. And they're going to actually meet with the medium who's going to determine whether or not that's true. I love ghost stories and things like that. So I'm kind of excited to see how that goes. I've never actually seen, you know, someone going through that. I've read about it. There's been movies about it. So if there is a evil ghost or mean ghost or negative ghost following David around, this is going to be a really interesting situation to watch, and hopefully they're able to rid of it so they can go on and do the things that they want to do without this negative energy and bad things happening. All right, guys, that's it for the David and Annie After the 90 Days, Season 1, Episode 5 podcast recap. I'm your host, George Mossey. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. I'll put it right here at the bottom. And make sure you're following David and Annie and Amber and Jordan and Cindy as well on Twitter. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for supporting the podcast, and we'll see you all real soon.